I'm Montse Alvarado. Tonight on EWTN News Nightly. Race to the finish. A bumpy road for President Trump's big beautiful bill as Senate Republicans scramble to meet the 4th of July deadline. Tragedy in Idaho. A gunman ambushes 2 firefighters, killing them after starting the blaze. How the local community is responding. And
La pace sia con voi.
Pope Leo celebrates Mass on the Solemnity of Saints Peter and Paul. We have a report from the Vatican. These stories and more tonight.
From EWTN, the Global Catholic Network, this is EWTN News Nightly.
Thank you for being with us on the memorial of the first martyrs of the Roman Church. Our top story tonight, President Donald Trump posts his one great big beautiful bill is moving along nicely. He wants lawmakers to pass the tax breaks and spending cuts by July 4th. The hours ahead will be pivotal as Democrats unite against the president's proposed legislation. White House correspondent Owen Jensen reports. Owen.
Montse, as the big, beautiful bill is voted on, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt addressed where it all stands tonight and what President Trump is urging.
The White House and the president are adamant that this bill is passed and that this bill makes its way to his desk. Republicans need to stay tough and unified during the home stretch, and we are counting on them to get the job done.
Just yesterday, her boss, President Donald Trump, posting on Truth Social, for all cost-cutting Republicans, of which I am one, remember, you still have to get reelected. Don't go too crazy. We will make it all up, times 10, with growth more than ever before. The Senate bill includes some $4 trillion in tax cuts, making permanent President Trump's 2017 rates, rolls back billions of dollars in green energy tax credits, and cuts $1.2 trillion in spending, largely to Medicaid and food stamps, by imposing work requirements and changing federal reimbursements to states.
The One Big Beautiful Bill also strengthens and protects Medicaid benefits, despite what Democrats are saying, for eligible American citizens who rely on it, like pregnant women, children, seniors, and people with disabilities.
Elon Musk once again criticizes the bill, calling it utterly insane and destructive. He claims it will destroy millions of jobs in America and cause immense strategic harm to our country. The U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops also weighs in, saying it's grateful. The bill includes provisions that promote the dignity of human life and support parental choice in education. But they worry it takes from the poor to give to the wealthy and harms God's creation and future generations through cuts to clean energy.
The bill also provides $350 billion for border and national security, including deportations. But Catholic bishops also warn it fails to protect families and children by promoting an enforcement-only approach to immigration. At the White House, Owen Jensen, EWTN News Nightly.
Meanwhile, on the Hill, the battle to pass or block the bill is in full swing. Over the weekend, it took 16 hours to read the 940-page bill on the Senate floor and 10 more hours of the debate. While Democrats are against cuts to Medicaid and food assistance, Republicans are eager to move forward.
This is good for America. This is good for the American people. It's good for working families. And it's been a long debate. I know people are weary. But at the end of the day, we want to get this done so that this country is safer and stronger and more prosperous, not only for today, but for future generations of Americans.
Shortly after debate started yesterday, the story shifted to Catholic Senator Thom Tillis of North Carolina, who announced that he would not run for re-election in 2026. In a statement, Senator Tillis wrote in part, "In Washington over the last few years, it's become increasingly evident that leaders who are willing to embrace bipartisanship, compromise, and demonstrate independent thinking are becoming an endangered species." He continued, saying that too many elected officials are motivated by pure raw politics and really don't care about the people they promise to represent on the campaign trail. He has faced heavy criticism from President Trump for not supporting the bill, but Senator Tillis warned Republicans that they're voting to break a promise the president made not to cut billions in Medicaid.
It is inescapable that this bill in its current form will betray the very promise that Donald J. Trump made in the Oval Office or in the cabinet room when I was there with Finance, where he said we can go after waste, fraud, and abuse on any programs.
This bill, my guess is about half, maybe even more than half of the Republicans in the Senate totally agree with him. But he had the courage to speak the truth, the backbone to speak the truth.
Government data shows more than 16 million people stand to lose Medicaid coverage under the bill. Still, Republicans are optimistic.
That the American people set an agenda for us in November. That's why they put the Republicans in charge, and we're going to deliver that. We're going to put it back in the House's hands. They're going to pass it. We're going to have it on the president's desk to actually get rid of the Biden-era policies and move forward to Trump's agenda.
Republican Senator Rand Paul is also voting no because he says the bill adds more than $3 trillion to deficit. The House is due back on Wednesday to take up the bill as they try to get it to President Trump by July 4th. In Idaho, heartbreak and questions after a violent attack on 2 firefighters.
We do believe that the suspect started the fire, and we do believe that it was an ambush and it was intentional.
Yesterday, firefighters were called to a brush fire, and when they arrived, the suspect started shooting. 2 were killed, a 3rd was injured. A lockdown was imposed on the nearby town of Coeur d'Alene, close to the Washington state border. The suspect has been identified as 20-year-old Wes Rowley. His body was found after an hours-long manhunt in the area. Crews are still battling the fire. Joining us now is Dr. Alex Delcarman, professor of criminology at Tarleton State University. Alex, thank you so much for joining us. First off, can you speak to us about the tactics that were used by the gunman, setting a fire, then ambushing these firefighters? Has this been seen before?
You know, unfortunately it has, right? What we have seen in this particular gunman is a deliberate act that has been planned probably for weeks, if not months. And how we know that is because of the fact that he knew exactly where to go, where to start the fire, how to provoke law enforcement or first responders to react, and then thirdly, probably had positioned himself in a way that he could actually take aim, shoot, and faithfully execute the individual victims that were actually in place. So it's a horrible act. Is sheer evil, and there's no question that this was planned ahead of time.
And how do investigators know that he was working alone?
Well, they've actually said that preliminarily they know that he's been working alone, because so far what that means is they haven't had any proof that there's been sort of a concerted effort with other entities that have been able to support it. But that may change, right? Keep in mind that right now we're in the early stages of the investigation, which basically means that they're coming through the home, looking at computer usage, cell phone usage, whether or not this guy had any connections with overseas entities or individuals that hate America, that hate first responders. Is there a political ideology that's being followed here? So all of those questions are being raised by the best of the best, who is actually looking into this person's profile and coming up with answers very quickly. But do understand that the narrative can change very quickly if things begin to pop up in the investigation that would suggest otherwise.
Now, officials said that they had to scoop everything up quickly at the scene because of the fire. How is that going to impact the investigation you just described?
Significantly. We know that whenever a crime takes place, right, the first thing that we do is secure the crime scene. And when it is exposed to the elements, period, we know that that crime scene is going to deteriorate by the hours and by the days. And so what we try to do is preserve it as best as we can. In this particular case, there's probably nothing more detrimental to a crime scene than fire. And so the investigators are going to have to, or probably went straight to the crime scene, tried to seize as much as they could, took pictures, DNA samples, whatever they could, and then retrieve themselves in order to be able to safeguard their lives. But keep in mind, too, that there's a digital print here that is being left by the bad guy in other areas that is not exposed to the fire. And sometimes those things actually give us a lot more insights than the physical evidence that we would recover from a crime scene.
Dr. Delcarman, we know that faith and reason go together. You're obviously a great professional in your field, but how should people of faith be thinking about this?
This is a reminder to all of us that, every single day we see evil take place in our communities, in our streets, in our neighborhoods, and that we have to hold on to prayer, we have to hold on to the rosary, we have to hold on to communion, all of these things that are beautiful faith, the Catholic faith has taught us for years. and for centuries, right? I've been a criminologist for 28 years. And I can tell you that if it wouldn't be for my faith and for my love for God and our Blessed Mother, there is absolutely no way that I get through a day having to deal with this horrible acts of violence out there. So this is nothing more than a reminder that we need to be in our faith, very much straightforward and always being the salt of the earth.
Well, we will be joining you in prayer for these victims. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
We'd like to now bring on Father Leonard McMillan, pastor of St. Pius X Parish in Coeur d'Alene. Father, thank you so much for joining us. First, how are you and how is your community?
We're doing well. We're, of course, heartbroken. The news came, heard all 20 cop cars, so you knew immediately something was up. So I called my deacon, and he's the one who told me the whole story. So this was Sunday afternoon, so we just called a rosary and adoration and started to pray. So we prayed for the police and the firefighters, but it felt like 9/11 where, just heart-wrenching, gut-wrenching pain. So we prayed, and then we celebrated Mass. But luckily this community is so well knit together that people in that heartbreak, people were calling the hospital, asking if they need blood. People lined up on the road as the deceased firefighters were led away. So we're leaning into community and prayer.
And what message do you have then for the faithful in your parish and for the families of those who were killed? My reaction, of course, there's a Greek word that reads anger, but it really means anger to the point of heartbreak. So, with that heartbreak, we prayed, but I just feel I can no longer give any quarter or tolerance to any form of hatred or revenge. The poor guy, the victim, was driven by excessive hatred. And in our community, I just don't think we can allow that. Well, it's certainly something that the country is struggling with. We're grateful for your prayers and your ministry. Thank you so much, Father Leonard.
God bless you.
God bless you. New satellite images show work moving forward at Iran's Fordo nuclear enrichment plant. The images collected by Maxmar Technologies shows activity near the ventilation shafts and holes created by the U.S. airstrikes on the facility. The group says several additional vehicles are also seen below the ridge, parked along the path to the site. This comes amid reports of the Iranians rapidly working to repair the bomb damage to the main entrance. Staying in the Middle East, Israeli forces killed at least 67 people in Gaza on Monday. Airstrikes left 30 dead at Seaside Cafe. Around 24 others were killed at a site giving out food. This was the cafeteria soon after the strikes. The Israeli Defense Forces say they are looking into what led to the airstrikes. This follows Israeli strikes on Gaza on Saturday that killed around 22 people in a crowded market. The IDF says it targeted a suspicious individual who posed a threat to its troops' military officials. They added that it took numerous steps to limit harm to civilians. A week after it was targeted in a suicide bombing, a Christian church in Syria opened its doors once again. This was the scene yesterday at Mar Elias Greek Orthodox Church in Damascus. It was the target of an attack on June 22nd. More than 20 there were killed. The video comes to us from Asimina, EWTN's Arab language news service. Though people returned to Mass, attendance was down across the city due to an atmosphere of concern. Security personnel have guarded the church in the days since the attack. Today, the Supreme Court tossed aside a number of lower court rulings regarding transgenderism after a ruling earlier this month. On June 18th, the court upheld Tennessee's ban on puberty blockers and hormone therapy for minors. Now, a number of lower courts must revisit cases related to transgender issues in light of that ruling. We have a lot more still to come on EWTN News Nightly, including Pope Leo restores a centuries-old custom to the Vatican, and the city of Rome rejoices and celebrates its patron saints. We'll tell you all about it. return to tradition in Rome as Pope Leo XIV resumed a centuries-old custom on the feast of Saints Peter and Paul. In St. Peter's Basilica, the Holy Father imposed the pallium on 54 newly appointed metropolitan archbishops. The pallium is a narrow circular band of white wool with 6 black crosses. It signifies communion, authority, and unity with the Pope, who also wears the pallium. Of the 54 archbishops, 8 were American. Those archbishops included Richard Henning of Boston, Jeffrey Grobe of Milwaukee, Joe Steve Vasquez of Galveston, Houston, Edward Weisenberger of Detroit, Robert Casey of Cincinnati, Michael McGovern of Omaha, Sean McKnight of Kansas City, and Cardinal Robert McElroy of Washington. The bestowing of the pallia wasn't the only thing to happen on the Solemnity of Saints Peter and Paul. EWTN News Vatican correspondent Valentina Di Donato shows the Eternal City celebrated the 2 pillars of the Roman Church.
A flood of colors filled Rome as the Via della Conciliazione, leading to St. Peter's Square, was transformed into a floral walkway. Covered in artwork created by dozens of master artisans and volunteers from across Italy. The floral works rich in religious symbolism as the Eternal City celebrates the founders of the Church of Rome, Saints Peter and Paul. On Sunday, Pope Leo gave his homily focusing on how this feast day is a time of reflection of the fraternal bond that united the apostles who sometimes had varying opinions.
The
history of Peter and Paul shows us that the communion to which the Lord calls us is a unison of voices and personalities that does not eliminate anyone's freedom. Our patron saints followed different paths, had different ideas, and at times argued with one another with evangelical frankness. Yet this did not prevent them from living the Concordia Apostolorum, that is, a living communion in the Spirit, a fruitful harmony in diversity.
Throughout the city, celebrations, religious and secular alike, transformed some of the most iconic places of the capital into a stage of spirituality and beauty. The burial sites of the apostles are where both St. Peter's Basilica and St. Paul outside of the wall were built, and the heart of where the festivities began and were carried out throughout the weekend. It's a celebration not only of the saints themselves, but also of the unity of the Catholic Church, built on the rock that is St. Peter. On Saturday in St. Peter's Basilica, Pope Leo XIV spoke to pilgrims present for the Jubilee pilgrimage for the Greek Catholic Ukrainian people.
La pace sia con voi.
He spoke on the themes of communion and hope in Christ.
Il vostro pellegrinaggio è segno del desiderio.
Your pilgrimage is a sign of the desire to renew the faith, to strengthen the bond and the communion with the Bishop of Rome, and to bear witness to the hope that does not disappoint, since it is born from the love of Christ that was poured into our hearts by the Holy Spirit. The Jubilee calls us to become pilgrims of this hope in our entire life, despite the adversities of the current moment. The journey to Rome, with the passage through the holy doors and the visits to the tombs of the apostles and the martyrs, is the symbol of this daily journey, striving towards eternity, where the Lord will dry every tear, and there will be no more death, no more mourning, no more sorrow, no more pain.
Né lamento, né affanno.
Furthering that, this feast day also serves as a reminder to harness the path for reconciliation to be opened and to strengthen relations of all types. In Rome, Valentina Di Donato for EWTN News Nightly.
Up next on EWTN News Nightly, Starstruck. Students at the Vatican Observatory Summer School receive a visit from Pope Leo XIV. Plus, an update on a beloved figure right here at EWTN. Pope Leo XIV recently praised the work being done by modern scientists in exploring the universe using tools like the James Webb Space Telescope.
Thanks to that truly remarkable instrument, for the first time, we are able to peer deeply into the atmosphere of exoplanets, where life may be developing, and study the nebulae where planetary systems themselves are forming.
The Holy Father said the images from the telescope, quote, fill us with wonder and indeed a mysterious joy. Pope Leo made the remarks at the Vatican Observatory in an audience that included students in its summer school. I recently spoke with one of the astronomers at the Vatican Observatory. For more, we turn to Chris Graney, adjunct scholar at the Vatican Observatory. Chris, it's great to be with you. Now, Pope Leo told the Vatican Observatory summer students, quote, surely this must be an exciting time to be an astronomer. Is he right?
Oh, yeah, he's definitely right. It's a very exciting time to be an astronomer, and it's an exciting time to be part of the Vatican Observatory because, of course, the Pope Leo was speaking to the Vatican Observatory Summer School, which is going on all throughout the month of June.
Now, that's a really special school, this Vatican Observatory Summer Program, and it's particularly studying the James Webb Space Telescope. Tell us, how important is the JWST and what it continues to send back to us?
Oh, the Webb telescope is, of course, like that's the major breakthrough of our generation in astronomy, and the summer school is focusing on a variety of things that the Webb studies, from the formation of planets and stars to the very early universe to life on other worlds. And in all of those things, we expect the Webb the Webb is changing our view of the universe, and it will continue to do so.
Now, we know Pope Leo XIV was a math major at Villanova. What more do we know about his background in math and science, and maybe his connection to the observatory and the choice of the name?
Well, for us at the observatory, of course, the name of Leo is an exciting choice because Pope Leo XIII is the one who reestablished the Vatican Observatory in its modern form after the Pope lost his territories in the late 19th century. And yes, it's nice to have a mathematically minded Pope. Of course, I point out that Francis also had a background in chemistry.
Oh, wow, a background in chemistry. Well, and did that affect the way that he had the connection that he had to the Vatican Observatory? Does that matter, the background of the Holy Fathers?
I'm sure it matters somewhat. I don't think that he came over and was talking chemistry all the time, however, and I don't know that Leo will be over talking about mathematical astronomy. But it is nice, to see that our leaders have these backgrounds in the sciences and mathematics.
Give us your final thoughts on the school and the many participants that you have, their backgrounds, if they're particularly special in any way.
Well, the interesting thing about the Vatican Observatory Summer School that the Pope is addressing is that we take about 25 students from all over the world. And there's no more than 2 students from any given country, so you have to have a wide variety of countries there. And, the students are from, all the different continents, areas that we would consider, richer countries, poorer countries. There's not a tuition for the school, so students. There's a group of donors that support the Vatican Observatory that allow these students to come for free, and generally they really like it. I was just at a conference at the University of Notre Dame where I ran into someone who was an alumna of the Vatican Observatory Summer School, who was at Yale, and she just raved about the summer school and her experience there.
Well, we're so grateful for the formation, obviously for the generosity of the donors, and mostly that they're fostering the next generation of astronomers with a background from the Holy See. Thank you so much. Chris Graney from the Vatican Observatory.
All right, thank you very much.
Finally tonight, after 29 distinguished and remarkable years at the Global Catholic Network, today is the last day for retiring EWTN President and Chief Operating Officer Doug Keck. Keck joined EWTN in 1996 following a career in cable television, sports, and media in New York City. Viewers know him as the host of EWTN Bookmark and co-host of Father Spitzer's Universe. During Doug's tenure, EWTN greatly expanded its reach across TV, radio, and digital platforms. He served as EWTN's president and chief operating officer since 2013 and will remain as host of Bookmark and co-host of Father Spitzer's Universe. As EWTN Board Chairman and CEO Michael Warsaw says, Doug remains a member of the EWTN family and will continue to mentor the up-and-coming leaders in Catholic media. Our prayers are with Doug and his family in this new season. We thank you for watching tonight. Remember, you can follow us on social media, Facebook, X, and Instagram at EWTN News Nightly. I'm Montse Alvarado. Good night and God bless you.